The unexpected guilt I faced after kicking my parents out. It all started when my parents came to visit for what I thought would be a short weekend. I hadn't seen them in months. And despite the awkwardness of our past interactions, I was determined to make the best of it. However, as soon as they arrived, the tension was palpable. My parents, in their mid-60s, carried an air of judgment that felt suffocating. I had built a life for myself, an apartment, a steady job, friends I loved, but their presence reminded me of everything I had distanced myself from. The first evening, we sat at my small kitchen table, the remnants of takeout scattered around us. I could feel my mom's eyes boring into me, scrutinizing every detail of my life. She commented on the lack of family photos adorning my walls, which I had intentionally kept bare, preferring the freedom of my own choices over their expectations. They were used to a certain image of me: successful, stable, and compliant. I had struggled to break free from that mold, to live life on my own terms. But it seemed the past was unwilling to let go. As the days wore on, their criticism escalated. My father expressed his disapproval of my career choices, his voice dripping with disdain. "Why aren't you pursuing a real job?" he asked, his arms crossed defensively. "This creative nonsense will get you nowhere." My heart sank. I had poured my soul into my passion, something that made me feel alive. But to him, it was just a phase, an embarrassing detour on the road to success. The worst came when my mother, without any regard for my feelings, rifled through my belongings while cleaning up after dinner. She stumbled upon my journal, the pages filled with my hopes, fears, and dreams. When she confronted me, her words were like daggers, slicing through my carefully constructed walls. "You're writing about your pathetic life? This is what you want to share with the world?" I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, shame washing over me like a tidal wave. I had shared my deepest struggles with those pages, and now they felt like ammunition against me. I was overwhelmed with emotion, fighting against the urge to lash out. Instead, I retreated to my room, tears streaming down my face. It was a familiar cycle, the old wounds reopening, the childhood memories flooding back. I remembered the countless times I had felt less than enough, trying desperately to earn their approval but always falling short. I had thought I was past this, that I had grown into someone stronger. Yet here I was, a grown woman crumbling under their judgment. The next morning, I decided to take a stand. I confronted my parents, and the words spilled out before I could hold them back. "I can't live like this anymore. You come into my home and make me feel small. I've worked hard to create a life I love, and your negativity is suffocating." I felt a sense of empowerment as I spoke, but it was quickly crushed by the realization of their stunned silence. They hadn't expected this from me. My father's face turned a shade of red that matched the anger brewing inside him. "We're your parents. We have a right to express our opinions." I stood my ground, no longer the timid girl desperate for approval. "And I have a right to live my life without your constant criticism." The conversation spiraled into a whirlwind of emotions: anger, disappointment, and a sense of betrayal. I felt like a stranger in my own home. Finally, overwhelmed by the tension, I made a rash decision. I kicked them out. I packed their bags, and with shaking hands, I opened the door. As they left, I felt a strange mix of relief and guilt, a tight knot forming in my stomach. Once the door closed, the silence of my apartment felt deafening. I had done what I thought was necessary for my own peace, but the guilt began to seep in like a slow poison. Was it really right to kick them out? They were my parents. Thoughts raced through my mind, each one more critical than the last. What if something happened to them? I imagined my father driving in anger, my mother crying quietly in the passenger seat. Would I ever be able to face them again? As days turned into weeks, the guilt became an unwanted companion. I filled my time with work and friends, trying to distract myself from the gnawing regret. I kept telling myself that I had made the right choice, that I deserved to live without the weight of their expectations. Yet every time my phone buzzed, I flinched, half expecting a call from my mother, her voice softening with concern. Instead, silence reigned. The void was unbearable. I scrolled through social media, watching families gather for holidays, parents celebrating their children's successes. I felt like an outsider, alienated from the life I once knew. Then, one evening, I received a message from my sister. She hadn't spoken to me since the incident. "Mom and Dad are heartbroken. They don't understand why you kicked them out." The words hit me like a physical blow. I had only thought about my own feelings, my own relief, and not about the devastation I had caused them. I spent the night tossing and turning, replaying the events in my mind. Could I have handled it differently? I had wanted to stand up for myself. But at what cost? The guilt morphed into a heavy weight pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. A few days later, I decided I couldn't live with this guilt any longer. I took a deep breath, picked up my phone, and called my parents. As the phone rang, my heart raced. I had no idea what I would say, but I knew I had to apologize. When my mother picked up, her voice was cautious. "Hello?" I hesitated, the lump in my throat preventing me from speaking. "Mom." My voice cracked. "I'm so sorry for how I handled everything. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to be free." There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear her soft breaths, each one a reminder of the distance that had grown between us. "We're your parents, and we love you. We didn't mean to upset you, but we were worried." Her words struck a chord deep within me. I realized I had spent so long pushing them away, convinced that their love was conditional, when in reality, it was unwavering. I could feel the guilt slowly beginning to lift as we talked, sharing our feelings and fears. By the end of the conversation, I felt lighter. It wouldn't be easy, and our relationship wouldn't magically mend overnight. But I knew we could start anew. I invited them over for dinner, wanting to bridge the gap and create a space where we could communicate openly. When they arrived, the air was thick with tension, but also hope. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where so much hurt had occurred. I prepared a simple meal, something I knew they'd enjoy. As we ate, I focused on the laughter and stories, pushing aside the remnants of our previous confrontation. With each passing moment, I felt the weight of guilt dissipate, replaced by understanding and acceptance. We spoke about the past, acknowledging the pain but also the love that had always existed beneath the surface. It was a delicate balance, but we were willing to work on it together. In the weeks that followed, I learned to embrace the complexities of family relationships. I realized that love didn't mean agreeing on everything, but rather finding common ground and supporting one another. Guilt would no longer control my actions. Instead, I would focus on nurturing the bond we shared. As time passed, we built new memories together: family dinners, game nights, and laughter echoing through my home. The journey wasn't without its challenges, but each step brought us closer, healing the wounds of the past. I learned to express my needs without fear and to listen to their concerns with an open heart. I had dealt with my guilt, not by erasing it, but by transforming it into something beautiful: a deeper connection with my parents. I understood now that I could stand up for myself while also honoring the love we shared. Life was messy, complicated, but also filled with hope and the possibility of renewal. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. The experience had taught me resilience, and I had emerged stronger, not just for myself but for my family. And as I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by the people I loved, I knew that we could face whatever came next together.